What's up, YouTube? For the next 30 seconds, at least, I'm going to talk like a real YouTuber while I tell you that in today's video, we're going to build this. This subwoofer has two 10-inch active drivers and two 15-inch passive radiators that really help it to hit those lows. As an added bonus, I'm going to show you how I did this beautiful pearl blue epoxy inlay. To add an extra wow factor, I added a top-end set of LED lights that are capable of a multitude of different light shows just to add to the experience. Make sure and watch until the end because after you see how I did it, you're going to want to do it too. Except you're not as talented as me, so you can't.
What?
Just kidding. What's really at the end are some awesome sound and excursion clips to let you know what this sub can really do. Welcome to the Righteous Builds YouTube channel. Alright, today we are doing a scrap wood build. So let me show you what we're dealing with. All I have left in 1-inch Baltic birch is this slab right here and this piece right here. So whatever I do is going to have to be small. Now, here's what I'm thinking right now. Maybe we could have two 10-inch drivers, ports here and here, and we'll see. Let me run the numbers on that and we'll see how we come out. So give me just a second. Back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Now my goal is to have a box that's about 3 to 4 cubic feet. So yeah, unless I do some really fancy port work inside the box, it's just not going to get me low enough. So let me do some thinking. I'll scratch my head a little bit now that it's easier to scratch. And yeah, that was a joke, by the way. And I'll see what I come out with. Okay, I'm building this thing out of things that I have laying around. I just happen to have two very nice looking Dayton Audio passive radiators. I actually have 3, but 2 is all I'm going to need for this build. Let's see. Okay, so what if we ditch the ports, make this a little bit shorter. This is how I computer model things. I mean, this is how I model things. How I visualize. Since I happen to have a glorious scrap pile here, I can pull stuff out of it and help me visualize stuff. Okay, so what if we did the passive radiators on the sides? 10-inch drivers in the fronts. Yeah, there's only one front. In the front, amp on the back. That way, every side of this thing is going to get utilized. Yeah, I think we can work with that. Let's do it. Okay, small subwoofer. I might even be able to lift this thing. This is going to be a fun build. Here we go. Okay, now the moment of truth. If we lay them all together, does it make a subwoofer box? Let's find out. Now the only question I've got is, why don't I do more of these small, simple builds? You might be seeing more of these on the channel. That was so easy. All right, time to start making this thing as fancy as I can for a scrap wood build. I guess we'll see what happens. Here are the actual stars of the show today. These are Dayton Audio 10-inchers. Very good subwoofers. I'm highly impressed. It's a discontinued model, but if you can find a pair of these or just one of them, these are awesome. I mean, I'm highly impressed with them. And yeah, they're made in China, so no American flags for you, bud. But they're great subwoofers. All right, so as this project develops, I'm getting all kinds of strange ideas going through my head. I'm thinking we're gonna do some epoxy, some LED lights. This is gonna be a pretty cool project. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You notice I've got a pattern here, and the goal is going to be to basically remove everything that's within this line here, and over here on the other side, of course. Replace that with epoxy, and then hide some LEDs in a little insert, or an inset that's hiding behind these wood circles. Oh, it's gonna be fun. Let's do it. As you can see here, the diffusion channel is cut. So what this is going to do is diffuse the LED lights. There are some options where the LED lights will diffuse themselves, but I didn't like any of those options. So this will serve to diffuse the LED lights so that you can't actually see the LEDs. I personally don't like that look. Some of you might out there, but I just don't. Now, I am going to need a backing plate because I'm going to be pouring epoxy here. All of this will be filled with epoxy. And I don't want it to just run out all over the floor when I try to pour it. So these are scraps. This is a scrap wood build, so I think this is okay. I'm gonna glue these together. I'm gonna cut a piece that's gonna be 13 inches wide by 22 inches tall. And it's gonna serve as the backing plate for this so that I can make this into an epoxy reservoir. And we'll do something cool with the color of the epoxy, and it'll be really cool. So let's make this happen, shall we? Okay, so here's where we're at with the front piece. Now, as I've said before, we're going to have LEDs running right through this channel, and that'll act as a diffuser. And I'm going to have a little channel right through here so that I can have LEDs pass through there and do what they need to do. I'm also going to need a place to run the wiring up to the LEDs, so this cutting the channel right here will allow for that. And it'll work out really well that way. Let's make it happen. Like I've always said, if you've got a bunch of clamps, use them all. You want to make sure everything's nice and tight, even on a small build like this. Make sure it's all sealed up. And since it's the summertime, I'm going to let this set for maybe 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and it's going to be ready to go again. So I'll come out and continue after about 30 to 45 minutes. Here we are. I've got all the clamps off. I have this little channel cut right here for the wiring to go through. And this is the Govee Strip Light 2 Pro. Kind of expensive, but it's going to be able to do all kinds of cool effects, and it'll have neat things that it'll do along with the music that you're listening to, just in case you want cool effects on your subwoofer. Anyway, let's make this into a box, shall we? I'm going to let those two surfaces get to know each other for a second so it's not floating around anymore. Then we'll put the clamps on and let it do its thing. We got a problem. Okay, I must have forgotten to tighten this or something, but the router has slipped off its track. And I've got about a 1/4 of an inch problem there. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back on track, and then I'll probably have to fill that in with some filler or something, but I'll fix it. Not the end of the world there. All right, guys, I lucked out. So I had this thing set for an outer diameter of 9 1/4 instead of an inner diameter of 9 1/4. So this thing's supposed to be about a 1/4 of an inch bigger anyway. So, whew, let's make it right. Okay, the front piece is done. We're looking at the back right now. I just kind of freehanded this part with the router, so if that doesn't look perfect, it's because it's not exactly perfect. Anyway, so this is what the front's going to look like. And set that down so you can see it. All right, we've got this channel back here so that the wiring can run through there. And then, of course, we're going to run LEDs all the way around the edge and through the other side. For a little 10-inch subwoofer, this should be pretty strong. See, we've got the double baffle here, and then this will all be epoxy. And we got the passive radiators that are going to go in on the sides. So technically, it's going to be a ported subwoofer, but it's going to have passive radiators, which are, like the DIY audio guy says, just really fancy ports. So let's get going on it. We'll continue the mission here. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of hardware. Well, I'll tell you what, if I had more clamps, I would use them because I'm using pouring epoxy, and if there's any little tiny hole, I could lose all of it through there because it's going to be 2 or 3 days before that stuff even thinks about setting up. So it's got to be tight. And that's the reason that I have a million clamps on there. So there you go. I'm going to let this set up overnight, and we will continue in the morning. Here's where we're at. We are ready to make this black. So I've just got everything routed, smoothed over, and from the one other epoxy job that I've done, I know that I'm going to want this to be black already because there's going to be epoxy coming up over the edges, and it is really tough to sand that stuff down to where you want it without sanding through probably more wood than you want to get all the epoxy off so that you can stain it. So it's already going to be stained. So let's make that happen right now. Okay, we have spaghetti, ladies and gentlemen. So this will soon be tucked in under here so that you won't see the actual lights, but you'll see the effect of them. So I'm not sure if this is going to come out on camera too much, but there's the LED lights. You got a whole bunch of different settings, colors, all sorts of different things that they'll do. So pretty cool. And they'll actually, you've actually got all kinds of effects that they'll do as well. So yeah, you can do a lot with these. This is the Govee Lightstrip 2 Pro, if I haven't mentioned that before. And let's see if we can install this thing and make it look cool, shall we? Okay, now, I really should have put these lights on before I glued this thing down, but since we are where we are, I'm not going to make you guys suffer through the process of running this thing under here. There is a tunnel under there. I'm just not sure how long it's going to take to get it under there. So I'm going to turn the camera off, run it through there, and I will update you on whether or not I was successful. Okay, with the help of my inspection camera, we are through the tunnel, so I can continue. All right, let me set the camera back up. We'll complete the process. Okay, here we are. Let's grab this little controller. Of course, there's a lot more controls on the app, but let's see where we're at. Oh, wow. Okay, that's gonna look pretty cool. Let's see, we got solid colors. All kinds of cool colors going on there. Okay, we got some, wow, that looks really awesome. That turned out just perfect. Okay, let's see, I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, I know that we have some voice activated stuff here too, but we have to play around in the app for that, and I happen to be using my phone to be filming right now, so can't really access the app. But boy, does that look awesome. That looks so cool, I can't believe it. Wow. Wow. Okay, it's about time to do epoxy. I'm using deep pour epoxy, and it takes about a week to set up to fully cure. So I'm gonna make it all one video this time. I promise. I'll see right here, right now. I'm saying it. This is all gonna be one video. I'm gonna finish it up, and you're gonna see the exciting conclusion to this project in this video. So it's going to take a little while to get out because it's, just a week on epoxy alone, and then a few days on tabletop epoxy, because that stuff you have to babysit it until it's completely cured. So it's going to be a while, but it's going to be worth it. We're almost ready for epoxy, but before I bring this thing down into the man cave for that, I'm going to cut the hole for the amp. And I'm pretty impressed with this thing so far. First of all, I can lift it, and it's not heavy. First box, okay, one of the few boxes that I can actually lift easily. All right, let's cut the hole for the amp, and we'll get this thing going. Okay, we are ready to take this thing down into the man cave and do some epoxy. I I haven't quite decided on which colors I'm going to do yet, but that decision will be made shortly and we'll get it done. Okay, coming to you from the man cave. Now there's one little place right here where epoxy could possibly fit through. This is where I made the hole for the cord to go through. I'm going to seal that up with some 5-minute epoxy so that it will be cured before it has a chance to run all the way down through that tunnel, but at the same time it'll seal it up. So there you go. As you can tell, I'm very nervous about any little pinhole that epoxy can get through because that pouring epoxy just is so thin for so long. Everything just has to be so tight. Okay, I've got to get one of these on video. Here we go. How cool is that? So far, no signs of leaks, so that's good. We did a good job of tightening everything up. I'm going to do that twice more, and then I'll come back tomorrow and I'll put in some of the highlights. And it should look pretty cool. Here's what we've got so far. Let me just switch this on. Here's my hand. Here we go. You can still kind of see the outline of the LEDs. Not the end of the world. I think it still looks pretty cool. But it doesn't seem to care what color the epoxy is. Those lights just come through no matter what. So still just a really cool setup. All right, quick little update. We have a leak. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and seal that up, maybe with some kind of duct tape or something like that. We'll see if we can stop that. But that's just how it goes sometimes. So I'll get that remedied as good as I can. And this is going to be a beast to sand. So that's why I'm afraid of leaks, because carpet will never be the same. So yikes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got some pressure on the wound. So some of these clamps are here for balance. Others are there to do just that, apply pressure and make sure that it doesn't leak anymore. So far, as you can see, I've got a piece of duct tape in there, just right there, and then a little bit of wood to spread out the pressure per square inch. And it seems to be holding pretty well. Another quick update. We are just about 24 hours in, and this stuff is already starting to set up. It's still tacky, but it's actually solidifying very nicely. I should be able to take these clamps off and probably by tonight, but I'm not sure. The last time I did epoxy, it took literally a week for it to fully cure, and this is about how it's going to look, I would guess. I'm thinking in maybe 3, possibly 4 days, this is going to be good to go. With that, the epoxy is dry, and let's see how we did. I just kind of measured that out, hoping that I was going to get it right, and yeah, that's on there good. That will not be coming off, at least not by itself. Wow, that sticks really hard. Okay, let's get that sanded down. I'm going to try and get at least one layer of finish epoxy on this front, but first I'm going to have to put some some new black paint here. And then once the epoxy is dry, we'll get the Duratex on the rest of it, and everything will be great. Good looking. It'll be good looking. Got my roll of paper towels ready to go. Got my torch for bubbles. And here we go. Just making sure that we're all sealed up here. Okay, here's where we're at. A big pile of paper towels here. Still continuing the battle. Just want to get some of this on film if it shows up because it's pretty cool. Now, here we go, watch the bubbles. See that? Just absolutely gone immediately. Doesn't take much at all. In fact, I would recommend that you don't do much at a time because you could boil this stuff and get some results that you really don't want. So I'm going to continue the battle. Boy, look at that nice shine. All right, a little bit of an update. I want you to notice the mountain continues to grow. Make sure you have a whole roll of paper towels. But I do want to point out that beautiful smooth finish that we're getting. Just really nice. Now, one thing that you want to be aware of is right here on the edges. I'm not sure how well that's coming out, but it looks nice, but not perfect. It's because on the edges especially, it's just going to keep on absorbing that epoxy, and you're going to get air bubbles that keep on coming up because the epoxy is displacing air in the wood, and it's just going to keep on bubbling and bubbling and bubbling until just about the point that it cures. So as far as edges go, you're just kind of at the mercy unless you seal those edges before you lay down the epoxy in the first place. Now, a couple of ways you can seal it is maybe with some faster drying epoxy so that you already have a non-porous layer there, and you can stop that. But I didn't do that because I mistakenly thought that maybe the original, the blue epoxy here had impregnated the wood enough so that it would be non-porous, but there are definitely pores. So I'm just dealing with it. It's looking really nice overall, but there's a few little things you need to be aware of. Okay, here we are. Here's the vision. Beautiful, smooth, high gloss finish. Here's the reality. you gotta fight for it. Okay, now we're about 3 hours in, so I feel okay about taking off my buffer zone tape here. I'm still gonna let this go for just a little while longer before I take that tape off, but it's coming along. Pretty soon we'll be able to do some finish work. I'm still deciding whether I want to keep the edges or not because they look okay. You can kind of see, I mean, at least it didn't absorb all the epoxy on the edges, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, now we come to the issue. How do we get power inside of the box? I mean, there's the plug-in right there. This thing goes right into the box. I originally wanted to drill through the amp, but I didn't want to mess up my $1,500 2400 watt speaker power amp very bad. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to drill a hole right through the box. And then I'm just going to hot glue this thing in. Hot glue has amazing strength. Okay, really before I go any further, I've got to do a pretty nerve-wracking part. So what I need to do is I need to take about 5/8 of an inch of material on the outside of these black rings here. I'm doing that so that I can make the 10-inch drivers flush with the surface of the subwoofer. And, some of the things that you do, you just wonder if it's going to turn out okay. That's right now. I'm wondering if this is going to turn out okay. So I'm going to tape this whole surface off and make sure that it doesn't get scratched. and we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. You know, there's these nerve-wracking moments when you wonder, all that work that I've been doing for the last few weeks, gonna be ruined with one with one little action. You never know. But if anything goes wrong, if anything gets screwed up or messed up, you'll see it right along with me. So let's go ahead and make this happen. I want to go about 1/4 of an inch down, and if I go any further than that, it could be catastrophic because it could cut right into the LEDs, or I could really mess something up and the whole job could be ruined. So I guess we'll see which one happens. Okay, this is the make or break moment. Here we go. Epoxy's getting in my eyes. Safety glasses. By the way, wood pegs make great earplugs. If you didn't know that already. Okay, continuing. Earplugs. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, you guys got to see this. Perfect fit, nice and tight. Couldn't ask for better than that. Now, by the way, with Dayton Audio, you've got to use screws. You can't, to hold these things down, you can't use T-nuts or anything like that. There's just not room. Dayton Audio doesn't leave enough room between, it's hard to explain, but they don't leave, they've got you right about here. And if you try to drill through there for a T-nut, it's going to drill right. It's going to come right outside the edge of your wood. But Dayton Audio, you make great speakers, but one day you should leave a little bit more room here. Maybe make this flange about maybe 3/4 of an inch wide, maybe an inch. But other than that, great speakers. Okay, I got the sanding done. This thing is fitting really nicely into this hole now. The driver anyway, and you can see right here that I peeked into the epoxy just a little bit. You can actually see, if you look really close, you can see the LED string there, but I didn't hit it. Everything's okay. That's not going to cause any issues whatsoever. So I'm going to paint this thing now. Because I'm getting low on memory again, I'm going to forego that. I'm going to forego videoing that process. You guys have seen me do Duratex several times, so I'm going to start that process, and we'll be back as soon as I get that done. I'll update you. Okay, here's where we're at. This is 2 coats of Duratex, and she is looking pretty. And here we are. All right, tape's off. That thing looks really good. Okay, holes are drilled. I'm out of the woods there. So I'm going to get the passive radiators drilled, and then we're going to take this thing down to the theater, do the final assembly, and let's test this thing out. Okay, we are in the theater, ready to test this thing out. This is a complete package now, complete with speaker covers. I gotta say, this thing, it looks little, but at the same time, it looks buff. Buff and tough. On the sides, we have 15-inch passive radiators. So we'll see how that goes. I have not heard this yet. Could sound not so good, could sound really good. Who knows, we're about to find out. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing wired up. We're gonna do some sound tests. And it's all happening in one video. So that's kind of cool. And if you look at the back, this thing ended up being a little heavier than I expected. Those 10-inch drivers are heavy. So we've got the amp, and we've even got this little receptacle for the LED lights. Nice and neat. Everything turned out really nice on this one. So I'm gonna get this wired up. Let's do some sound tests. All right, let's do some things, shall we? Okay, first off, cool thing about speaker power amps is that they have this little, looks like a speak-on connector in the back. You just plug right into that, and this actually connects right to your speakers. So if you want to see what your enclosure is tuned to, just hook it up. So I've got my DATs, and we're going to do an impedance sweep, and we're going to see where we're at with this subwoofer. Okay, now provided that everything is good, then it should just do a sweep. So let's see. Okay, all right, got some nice little peaks, and we're looking for the valley right between those two peaks. It's actually pretty smooth. We don't have any extra weirdness going on. We are right at 24 hertz at 2.825 ohms, and there you go. Okay, so this box tuned to 24 hertz. Now I've got 7 discs on each of the passive radiators. I'm not even sure you can see that. There we go. I've got 7 discs on each of the passive radiators, so that tuning frequency can be changed. So let's see how it sounds, and then we'll go from there and see if we want to change it. Okay, here we are. Now I've got this thing in the corner so that it can load off the walls, because it's not one of these, a dual 24-inch 8,000 watt subwoofer. It's a little 2400 watt 10-inch subwoofer with 2 15-inch passive radiators. Let's get a couple of sound clips, shall we? Let's give it a little bit of volume. Let me open up that door so we don't get that rattling. Now that you've heard it, here are my final thoughts. I mean, since I'm here in person with the subwoofer. First of all, it's a really cool concept. I love it. I love it. It sounds so clean. It's got nice, smooth, clear bass. Complements the music really well. It's not necessarily overpowering, but it hits those lows like nobody's business. Kicks pretty hard, does all right in that area. And I really think it's a cool little sub. So, I mean, we've got the passive radiators on both sides. So there's the profile that you get just looking at it. And then got something going on over here. And something going on over here. So pretty cool. I can see this sub being a really cool office sub, or, I mean, it could even do home theater duty if you have a smaller, like, apartment. Or even it would even do really well in a big setting. I mean, if you don't want bass that does what these subs can do, you know, if you don't want to remove the sheetrock from your walls or anything, then this would be perfect. I mean, it hits hard. It hits the lows. I mean, it doesn't shy away from really any frequency, unless it's like way below tuning. But wow, cool little sub. I'm impressed. If I end up keeping this subwoofer, then I'm going to do a direct comparison in a future video where I take these exact drivers and the exact amp, put them back in the DDF10 box, and we'll do a direct comparison. I should have a mic that works. Now, you probably noticed that I wasn't doing any REW tests because my microphone is dead. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's completely unresponsive now. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to cut it off here. Thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, if you build it and it's cool, that's a righteous build. And boy, is this a righteous build or what? It looks so cool. See you later, guys. Have a great day. All right, a little bit of drama before we end this video. Okay, I'm pretty sure I tore another spider. Let me put some music on. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm down here in the man cave messing around with this subwoofer. Okay, now, keep in mind, these are just little Dayton Audio 10-inch subwoofers. It's very quiet. You can hear it's making a pretty bad vibrating noise. But if we bring the volume up, yeah, that's not supposed to happen. We tore another spider. And these little guys, they should, I mean, a 15-inch passive radiator on both sides of this thing should be more than enough to handle these little 800-watt guys. I mean, unless I'm wrong, is this driver not a good match for these 15-inch passive radiators? Seems like the 15-inch would be more than enough, but I don't know. I don't know everything. Anyway, there you go. That's where this one sits right now. So, yeah. Just in case you're still here, I went ahead and pulled this thing out. If you want to see a little bit of carnage, I guess if you can call it that, here we go. You can see we have a full separation. See how you can see the carpet right through there? You're not supposed to be able to see that. We have a full separation of the spider. See that? Oh, okay. Now, it very well could be that this is my fault and I simply mismatched or maybe underestimated these drivers, and maybe they're just too much for this thing. But I've seen it before. This glue just ripped right off, and again, it would be an easy fix, but I'm gonna just go ahead and throw my spare in there. Continue to enjoy this thing. I'm hoping it'll at least last until I can do a comparison video between this subwoofer and the DDF10 design. I really want to do that because I'm thinking that the DDF10 can probably beat it, even though it has smaller enclosure volume than this thing does. Anyway, it would be a cool comparison, so I hope that this thing lives. If it doesn't live, I will update you on that. But there you go, that's where we're at. Thanks again. Appreciate each and every one of you. We're going to end this thing for reals this time. See you later. Have a great day, guys.